So Oppenheimer, you guys, just saw it yesterday in IMAX 70mm. Fantastic experience overall. I did a video also interviewing people about their reactions to the film itself and had some ratings, had some fun and whatnot. But today I want to go over the Oscar predictions for this Christopher Nolan film. We know Christopher Nolan has been underrated in the Academy, not only just for Best Director, but for Best Picture, some of his screenplays as well. We're going to go down the line because this is going to be his magna opus, his masterpiece. And there were so many people that I interviewed yesterday that were saying this is his best film to date, up there 9 out of 10s and whatnot. So I think Oppenheimer is an 8.7 out of 10. I think it's fantastically written. This is Nolan's, I think, one of his best scripts, if not the best. I think there's actually certain parts where you're kind of into the scene a little bit too long, but I think that's what Nolan was going for, right? An immersive experience where you're actually into the character and into the mind of Oppenheimer. All right, guys, we're gonna get into Best Picture nominations, and you guys already know Oppenheimer is number one. Just from the hype of the audience's scores, the critics' scores for now, everyone is putting this at high acclaim. So I think this deserves number one. I think Killers of the Flower Moon is up there for sure. Scorsese got Past Lives has been a lock for nomination for a while now since it premiered. I think in the beginning of the year this year. So, and Dune Part 2 might be delayed, and it has to do with the strike, obviously, from SAG and the Writers Guild. Kind of affecting possibly the marketing, possibly just like the rollout to that November release. So they don't want to deal with that. And if it's gonna last like probably 4 months or so, geez, I mean, it's probably the right move for the studio to do that, to be honest. So I think 5 is fair, but it's definitely gonna get up there if anything. I got The Holdovers, heard some good things with Paul Giamatti. Anatomy of the Fall, I think, is a festival film. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I heard, is the best animated film of the century itself. I'm gonna do the reaction to that soon, so be on the lookout for that. We got Zone of Interest, a foreign language film, I believe. And just for the Fincher's sake, I'm gonna put The Killer there because you can never underestimate him. I think on a lot of lists I've been seeing, The Killer hasn't even been mentioned in the top 10. But when it comes to Fincher, when it comes to Michael Fassbender as well, carrying the film with Tilda Swinton, I think that is the possibility of getting a nomination. Best Director, we have Nolan. Nolan is going to get recognized by the Oscars, what we've all been waiting for. No bias at all. This is Chris Nolan's time. I promise you guys, this is his time. Just like Schindler's List for Spielberg, which I said in a previous video. But I think this is his time to get recognized across the board, and that's why I'm hitting it with Best Picture and Director. I think Nolan has been snubbed in the previous races for Best Director, Dark Knight being one and Inception being one. Of course, Inception, that was the biggest snub of all time in my opinion. Those two were fantastic films that I think should have been recognized. I got him at number one there. We have Scorsese, of course. Cillian's Song is a lock at Best Picture, so I'm putting that up there. And I do have to add like a foreign language film because we've been seeing that the past 2 years with the international director counting coming in, so I'm gonna put that in there. And I'll put Alexander Payne just for the hell of it. I mean, I have it at number 4 in Best Picture, so I'm gonna put it as director. And then Zone of Interest, I mean, I think that's an international film, so I'm just gonna pop that in there. We got another number 1, and Cillian Murphy absolutely was amazing in this role. Every minute you spend with him on screen, he just takes you to another place in his mind where the level of Oppenheimer and the thoughts and the feelings and the look of what he's going through is portrayed in a way where you actually care for him and actually want to know what is he thinking and what he's going to do about it. And it's really across the film itself and different timelines in his life. He just excels, and even physically he did some amazing transformations that I don't think was definitely not visual effects oriented, probably some makeup too. He went through some big lengths with this film. Let's give Cillian Murphy his praise for this one. I have Leo DiCaprio, is one of the best actors of all time, so I'm going to put him at number 2. Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. Holdovers is a Best Picture nom in my book, so I'm going to put that up there. We have Bradley Cooper for Maestro. Honestly, I think Bradley Cooper is definitely an underrated actor in terms of like, oh, who's your top 10? Is Bradley going to be up there? I don't think a lot of people are going to say that, but he probably has a lot more nominations in the past decade than a lot of people think about. So I'm gonna put Cooper up there, and then Coleman Domingo. I think this is a biopic as well, and I heard some great things. We have Best Supporting Actor, got RDJ at number 1, and these are 4 slots at number 1, but hey, this is just for now. RDJ is phenomenal in this film. He has a specific scene that I think of is going to be shown on the ceremony as his Oscar moment, and that's going to be a great way of presenting him to the stage. But I think with the time he has on the film, he definitely takes you on this type of journey of what his objective thoughts were with the different characters and whatnot. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but I mean, it's truly phenomenal. All right, and we have the great De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon at number 2. I mean, one of the best actors of all time. I'm definitely going to put him up there. Richard E. Grant, I just put up a Saltburn actor. Ryan Gosling has been hearing some good buzz, so I haven't watched Barbie yet, but I mean, he's been getting a lot of praise. But I think it's one of those things where it's a bit too hype right now, so it might just be a lot of hearsay. And I put John Magaro for Past Lives, just because Past Lives has been a lock. So for the actresses, I'm actually gonna lean towards not. I think they were great performances for what they were, but I don't think it would carry a nomination, just because not only just for the screen time they had, but I don't know, there was some like good emotional moments, but it didn't impact me as much. For now, I don't think they should. I would love Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh to be recognized, more so Emily Blunt, but I mean, for right now, probably not. And then so for adapted screenplay, I already have 4 wins for Oppenheimer. Let's keep it grounded. We're gonna put Killers of the Flower Moon, even though this is one of Nolan's top scripts, in my opinion, top screenplays. It might fall short in terms of that screenplay branch or whatever they have in the Academy. I think Killers might win, and you always have those fluctuations. I mean, there's a high correlation with best screenplay and best picture, but I think there's some like kind of differences in the past, and this might be a play. It just might be one of those instances where one gets one over the other, but it's definitely going to be nominated for sure. So Oppenheimer's up there. Zone of Interest, I'm just going to put up there. Poor Things, Yorgos is probably going to get recognized just because it's unique, and probably because it's his most ambitious probably flick that he's made, and I think he might get recognized for that, so I'm gonna put that up there. And of course, Fincher's work, I don't know if he actually wrote the screenplay for this, but let's put The Killer up there. I think he needs to be recognized more. I don't know why no one's talking about The Killer. I mean, there hasn't been a trailer or anything, but let's put some respect on Fincher's name. All right, production design, this is where it comes to be kind of iffy situation, so I'm gonna have Barbie at number 1. I don't know, I think the pop culture influence, I think a lot of what's going on, and the trailers were like really cool in terms of like what they did with the sets and whatnot, so I think it's gonna have some praise there. Oppenheimer, making Los Alamos from scratch, from the ground up, and literally making it in New Mexico, I think it should get recognized for that. It was fantastic to watch, and the set designs for the Trinity test as well was beautiful to see. But they actually went to actual schools and places in Oppenheimer's life that's already been there. I don't think those would be deemed as a production design like kind of motif, so but Dune should take 1. Killers of the Flower Moon, I saw some of that production design. Jack Fist, I believe, is the production designer, so that guy should get recognized. And then Poor Things looked great in that trailer, so I'm gonna put that up there. For cinematography, we got Hoyte and we got Greg Fraser. Oppenheimer versus Dune. Let's pick Oppenheimer because this was fantastic. A lot of the film shot in IMAX, so I think, I mean, not just the technical stuff, but the beauty of it. I mean, every scene is just breathtaking to watch, and watching it in IMAX might just be a bias, but I don't know, you could see the whole frame. You could see more of the details in the frame, and literally every scene is so beautiful to watch. So I got to give my praise to Hoyte, and hopefully he gets recognized one day. Dune 2 is going to be up there. It's going to be a tie race for sure, I think. I don't think it's going to be leaning towards one or the other. And Dune 2 looked fantastic in the trailers. Check out my trailer reaction for that too as well. Killers look beautiful. Scorsese always has good cinematography. I think The Killer, Fincher has some good reputation around there. And then Maestro, just putting that up there. These all like have directors and production teams that have great quality. So I'm going to associate them with these Oscar nominations. All right, let's move on to editing. I'm going to put Oppenheimer at number 1. Jennifer Lame did fantastic. The editing from the first act to the second act was fantastic. I love the dynamic of moving different timelines and whatnot, and she just like outdid herself. I think this is way better than Tenet. I don't know what other films she did, but I mean, this is her best work. I'm gonna put Killers of the Flower Moon up there as well because Scorsese. Saltburn, I'm just throwing a random one in there. The Killer I'm putting on there. I think Fincher has his ways of editing, so let's put that on there. And then Past Lives, I think the high correlation of this picture and getting editing should be up there. So I'm gonna see if they could give praise to some international flicks. But I don't have Dune 2 on there. I think this might be one where this might be a snub. So I have to have some snubs, right? It's bound to happen. And for score, Ludwig. This is one of his best scores of all time. I think this is better than Tenet. The amount of emotion you get when, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but when you get to certain scenes, you're just embraced by the amount of sound design. I'll get to sound design in a minute, but sound design mixed with the score itself, it's so beautiful, man. It's literally an experience. That's what you're going for. The score is supposed to perfectly complement the film, the footage on the screen, and this does it perfectly throughout, and really just with the violin elements. And Ludwig just takes his time when it goes down to those emotional points, and then when it goes up to those high climax points in the film as well, and he does that in a fantastic way. So that's awesome to see. I think Dune 2 is gonna be always up there. Hans Zimmer, the GOAT. He should be recognized as well. I wouldn't actually mind either of them. They're both Oscar winners, so we'll see about that. Past Lives, heard was good, so I'm gonna put that on there. Indiana Jones, John Williams will get probably one. They literally always nominate him in one. I don't even know why. I mean, I love John Williams, but each Star Wars one, he just like adjusts something. Hey, I mean, no shade here, but I mean, it literally just sounds the same. And we also have the creator, which I found out was Hans Zimmer. So, I mean, if one deeds well over the other, I think he might actually have two. All right, and then best sound design, I'm gonna give this one to Dune. The trailer even made me so satisfied when feeling the pressure in the sand with the sandworm coming up. Man, that was fantastic to listen to. But not only that, it's just part of the Dune experience. I think that they did a fantastic job in the first one, and that's what I'm expecting for the second one. So, and like I said with Ludwig's score, I think Oppenheimer has a fantastic sound design. No failure in sound design as Tenet low-key was, but I mean, there's some elements where you can't, I mean, you're like embraced by the nature of the experience, but maybe you kind of miss a dialogue or two. And that's not at fault at the score. That's not at fault at the sound design. That's just with the environment around that person. So obviously I'm not going to give anything away, but that's just a point I'm going to make there with the sound design. And I think the sound design is what makes the best scenes as well too. And they did that in a fantastic way. So I'm going to put that up there. Ferrari, we got to get a driving movie up there. The Killer. Again, Fincher, gotta respect Fincher, and then Killers of the Flower Moon. And then visual effects, I'm not gonna put on there just because no CGI elements. But I don't think the visual effects branch would probably embrace this non-CGI elements. They obviously probably use like some in different scenes, but as minimal work as they did, it probably won't be recognized. All right, guys, with that said, that's 10 nominations for Oppenheimer. So no visual effects and costume design. I don't think they're gonna get costume design because it's kind of just like normal 1940s type of attire. I would love to have it be recognized, and it's honestly kind of like just other films in this type of time period. Makeup and hairstyling, maybe because of some elements. I won't spoil, but I mean, there's some elements that you could see in the film, but again, it's probably just as minimal as you think. But yeah, guys, that is 10 nominations in total for Oppenheimer, and that's holding 7 out of the 10 nominations so far as wins. So that's going to be a huge bar to fill if Oppenheimer is going to get that next year. But hopefully these nominations come out sprawling with support of Nolan and his work with this July release film. Let me know about my Oscar predictions, your Oscar predictions. Let's see the recognition Nolan can get for his work on this one. And I appreciate you guys watching, and cheers. Have a good one.